In this episode of the Tradies Business Show, we take a look back at the year that was 2014, and we share a few tips on how to make 2015 your best year yet.
Welcome to the Tradies Business Show, helping you get off the tools and into true business ownership, so you can spend more time doing the things that matter most. Now, here are your hosts, Warwick Bidwell and Michaela Clark.
So welcome back to another episode of the Tradies Business Show. My name's Warwick Bidwell from the Tradies Business Toolkit.
And you're lucky enough to be joined today by myself, Michaela Clark from Tradies V8. That was really corny, wasn't it?
Thanks for joining me, Michaela. This is kind of like interviewing you. So listeners, Michaela is probably about 80 kilometres, maybe 100 kilometres away from me. I don't know how far away you are anyway. I don't even know where you live. Do you live somewhere? Like, or do you just live in your
I do
car?
Have a house,
okay.
Yes.
So, yes, we're recording this apart for a change. We're not both in the same studio. It's just a bit of a crazy time of year, isn't it? The transition between Christmas and New Year. We're about to tick over into a new year. And as we spoke about in episode 13, great time to reflect on, I guess, the year that was and the year that we want to have. And so I think today we should talk about what sort of a year we've had. Do you want to go first, Michaela? What sort of a year have you had?
Yeah, sure. So I like all those, magazine reviews and TV shows, the year that was kind of episode today. So I guess it's been a really big year for me. Personally, I welcomed a granddaughter.
Wow.
Can you believe it? I don't sound so, old, but okay. So it's a step granddaughter.
I'm not going to say anything.
But so personally, that was a wonderful addition to the family. And my three boys are growing up healthy and strong. And in a couple of weeks, the last one joined school. So I think I may be having a shampers about 9 a.m. in the morning, if that's allowed, on the first day back at school. But professionally, it's certainly been a really big year for the business, and definitely some big key learnings this year. I really looked towards surrounding myself with people that were on the same path as me, and growing with them and sharing stories and the fun times with people going through entrepreneurial journeys as well. So I found that's been great. Also looked at having a professional mentor in my life that I can bounce ideas off and things like that. So that's been a big help in growing the business. But probably one of the big things is really looking at things in a new light. So what have I been afraid of that's perhaps holding me back, and just getting over that and going forward? And one of those things, was this podcast. This is something I wanted to do for a long time. So actually committing to doing it and starting it was a really big goal that I've had for a long time, and so that's done. So it's all about, facing your fears and doing it anyway, and see where that'll take you, because that's where the fun is. So, you're going to get the same results if you do the same thing you've always done. So I think it's really critical that you do look back over the year and see things that have worked, but also look at perhaps some areas that weren't so great, and actually doing an exercise of putting some monetary value on that. So perhaps it's the staff member that you didn't hire, or a procedure you didn't put in place that had an effect on your business, and just looking at what that learning perhaps may have cost you. And I really find that's a good exercise as well. You don't have to dwell on your mistakes too long, but I think it's good to acknowledge that they're there and what they perhaps would have cost you and moving forward. So for me, it's been a big year of reflection and looking at what I'm learning and where I'm going. And so, yeah, it's been a great year, and looking forward to a bigger 2015. And what about yourself, Warwick? What do you think your year has been like?
Well, thanks, Michaela. Look, I've had a great year too, and I'd have to echo some of what you've said about facing fears. Probably not so much about being afraid of starting things for me, but I spend a bit too much time agonizing over the right way to do it, or the best way to do it. And often that means I don't get started on things. So this podcast, obviously, and if you're listening to this and you don't know the backstory to how Michaela and I got started on this podcast, and go back to episode 1, and we give you a bit of insight into how we did hook up and start the Tradies Business Show. But for me, jumping into this has actually caused a whole lot of other things in my business and personal life to really cascade along behind it, of just that whole thing of taking action. I mean, I teach my clients this stuff. God, I'm a business coach, and I preach this stuff every day of the week. But just like any of the plumbers listening or mechanics, you probably got the leaky tap or the car that perhaps needs a bit of work on it. For those of us who are business advisors, maybe we don't always follow our own advice. So for me, it's been a bit of a year of that, is eating my own cooking a bit more, and probably just being a bit more, or getting back in touch with my passion for helping people and finding ways to do that with more. And look, I keep coming back to this podcast, but I love this gig, and it's such a great way to get out to people. And the people I'm talking to that are listening to the show and getting great value from it, it's really heartwarming. It's very fulfilling. So, I'm really loving it, and working with some great clients. But, daughter's getting older, she just turned 3, and I'm feeling a bit older. I'm having to work a bit harder at the gym to keep up with the young guys. But same, I'm looking forward to a huge 2015. I think a lot of people, particularly in the trade industries, are feeling the same way. And when we spoke with Paul from Queensland Master Builders, it sounds like there's some good stuff on the horizon.
Yeah. So what do you think perhaps was your key learning from this year? Like, what's perhaps something that you had done differently, or one of those things we always ask our guests to come up with? But what do you think was something that you perhaps will change next year, or would have done differently?
I'm going to ask for more. I'm going to ask for more from the people around me, from my mentors, from my team, my virtual team, the people that want to work with me, because I do get approached by people who want to partner with me, and sounds like I'm blowing my own trumpet, and I really am a bit uncomfortable with that. But I'm just going to ask for more of people around me, and ask probably for more of myself too. Is just require a bit more of me, and not be so afraid of putting myself out there in public. I mean, this podcast has really helped me get over that, because I look at our download numbers, it's like, holy crap, there's thousands of people downloading this thing. And that's been one of my big constraints over the years. So that's probably my big thing. What about you?
You mean people are actually listening? Is that what you're saying?
They're listening to me. And as I look at the little green lights flashing on the mixing desk here in the studio, I'm thinking, God, people are going to listen to this one too. So it's really helped me conquer my fear and put myself out there. So have you got a one thing, Michaela? Like, what's your big lesson or advice?
Yeah, look, I really think one of my key learnings this year is perhaps, it's great to look long term and plan ahead and have a 90-day plan and go for those big goals and really strive for that. But I think it's important to not get too longer term vision and really make sure that your house is in order and those short term goals, because if you do let any of that slip, it will impact the long-term position anyway. So even though it's important to focus on some long-term strategies and thinking, it's also important to make sure that everything is in order and that your processes are right and that you are happy with the level of service and products that you're providing to your customers before you really do move on and jump up. So it's all about, keeping your house in order, but also looking at those big, hairy goals as well.
And I suppose that's and we'll talk about that more in the next episode 18 of planning for the year to come. But, just looking back at some of the key areas while you are taking that break, key areas of your life, so health, relationships, money, even personal mastery around things like decision making and some of those key areas that it takes to run a business. Maybe give yourself a bit of a scorecard, get out the red pen and some of us might need a calculator to work out the score, but, get the red pen out and rate yourself in some of those key areas in your life and just see honestly with yourself how you went. And then the next thing to do with that, and I find this really powerful when I'm working with clients, is to look at that score. And maybe you take relationships, for example. Maybe you gave yourself a 6 because perhaps you weren't attentive enough, or you didn't pay enough attention to your kids or spend enough time with them. But the really powerful thing, even more so than scoring that, is to then say, well, what would it take to get to, say an 8? What would I have to change? And that can really point us in the direction of some really powerful strategies and some action items that we can implement going forward. So rather than just give ourselves a shitty score and go, oh man, I only got a 3 for finances, and then beat ourselves up about it. So, okay, well, what would I need to do to get that to a 5?
Yeah, and often you find it's actually not that much that you would need to tweak or change to improve that score. And I just want to touch on a point that it is important that your health and your life and your business are all interacting together. So if one isn't great, well, it is going to affect the others. So it's important to have a whole look at everything in your life, not just your business. And I know for me, it's all about perhaps taking care of myself more next year as well. And I know that that will help have a business impact as well. So it is really important to have that 360-degree look at your life. And like you said, looking at where you didn't perhaps score as well as you want to. And often it's not that far away to go up the score a bit.
And what I'll do, listeners, is, and Michaela doesn't know that I'm going to do this, so I'm really just dropping this on her, but it's not that big a deal, Michaela. It's okay. It's weird when we're not in the same studio, isn't it?
It is.
Because I can sit here grinning and thinking about what I'm going to do, and you're just at the other end of the line listening to silence. It's
and the funny thing is, maybe we should do a behind the scenes recording one day, even when we are sitting in front of each other, we're doing hand signals.
Are you going to ask a question next? Like waving and, no, don't ask that. Oh, he mentioned the other company that we're not talking about. But what I will do is put basically a quality of life pyramid, and it's all the elements that end up with the sorts of results and quality of life that we'd like. So it's all the key things, like the quality of our mentors and the quality of our decisions. So I'll put a little tool up in the show notes for this episode. So if you go to tradiesbusinessshow.com/17, as in the number 17, and go to the show notes, click on the link there, and you can download the quality of life pyramid, I'll call it, and just give yourself a score for each of those elements. And then, as I said, more importantly, is just jot down maybe 2, 3 at the most things that you could do or change that would raise your score in each of those areas, and do a bit of an audit on where you're at. So it's a pretty cool exercise to do, actually. It's a little bit deep, but it's a good one to do at this time of the year. There's a fair bit of champagne flowing around in not too many hours' time if you're listening to this on the day that it was released, but otherwise, that's tomorrow, isn't it? I don't even know how many days there are in December. Look at that. No, it's been a massive year.
It's the New Year's Eve of New Year's Eve
today.
It's
New Year's Eve.
The 30th. There you go. Yeah, so don't quite start drinking for New Year's Eve midnight quite yet.
Well, maybe some have. I think some people probably didn't stop over Christmas.
So I would suggest perhaps having a bottle of red or a few more and then trying to do the pyramid. I think do it maybe on the first glass.
Yeah. Just one drink and then do the exercise.
Well, that'll be great for our listeners. So thanks for sharing that, Warwick.
My pleasure. So what about looking forward, Michaela? Are there some things that we need to do? You talked about getting your house in order and maybe, not getting too big picture. I know I'm great for big picture thinking. Anything that you think we need to be looking at in terms of getting our house in order, some of the fundamentals?
Well, I really think it's making sure that the foundations are in place. So, looking at, are you doing the basics that are for business success? And one thing I like to think of is, if I was the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, is this how, the financial reports would look? or is this the level of customer service that I would expect from a team? So even if you are a small team, perhaps you're just yourself and your field workers or yourself and your partner that run the business, really having a look at it is this really the standard that we need to have in our house to take it forward? So like I said, it's the things, your sales process, your customer service, your financial numbers, hopefully you have some financial reporting, and also looking at, are your employees happy and measuring that? So all those kind of things that really you can't move forward unless the basics are in place.
I have to agree. And so many of our guests that we've interviewed so far on the show, and we've got some cracking interviews coming up in 2015, the things that they rate as having a big impact or their big lessons, the things that set their business apart, are such simple things. I know we bang on about this all the time, but it's not necessarily the big chunky stuff that you need to tackle in your trade business. It's just doing the small things consistently well, and that tends to generate great results.
That's right. It's all about that consistency, isn't it? And having that customer expectation that you're going to provide the same level of service every time. Or if someone refers work to you, that you're going to look after that referral person, just as well as you did the last few. And it gets easier. If you've got everything in place and expectations, running the business just becomes like clockwork.
They're all just habits that we develop. And I won't get on my high horse about it this episode, but we talk a bit about health, and if you'd like some advice, Michaela, I've always got an opinion about health and fitness. But I see people do these 30-day challenges, and g'day to all the listeners who are currently doing a clean 30 or a whole 30 or whatever the bloody hell you call it.
Well, they're about to start in 2 days' time. They won't be starting.
But it's like, we do this massive effort of starving ourselves and licking the sweat off the back of our hand for 30 days. And then at the end of that, it's really hard to maintain that, because it's like shock therapy. Whereas if you just made small changes, you just changed one small thing a day for a whole year, that's a massive improvement over 12 months. But I think, unfortunately, we're often looking for the instant gratification these days, and we're looking for the quick fix strategies or the big thing that's going to revolutionize my business, whereas it really is just doing those little things and doing them consistently well.
Yeah, and it's all about a motto I like to live by, which I've mentioned before, is patience and persistence. And generally that will always get you to where you want to go.
My 3-year-old has no patience and lots of persistence. She likes to test my patience, I can tell you.
Got a question you want answered on the show? Go to tradiesbusinessshow.com.
So one thing I think is also, I think would be great to chat about is any trends that you've seen with the industry and clients over this year, and whether you think they'll continue into 2015.
Yeah, yep. Look, something I've seen with my clients that I'm working with in the coaching space is people charging what they're worth. Now, I don't know, maybe it's just my clients because that's what I make them do, but I'm actually seeing more people who are willing to value what they're offering clients and charge more what they're worth. And I've seen a couple of business, I've got couple of great clients at the moment who have literally transformed their business by putting up their prices. And I'm not talking a massive amount, but just the mindset shift of a 10 or a 15% increase in their rates, not just for them, but for their customer base as well. And I got one guy, he's got quite a big mechanical business, and he's had customers say to him, "Oh, I've been thinking you're too cheap for ages." It's like, great, I should have put my rates up ages ago. But so
are you saying that, I can put my rates up and not lose clients, Warwick? That's the misconception out there that, that will happen.
Oh, look, it is the common fear, and I get that. I guess we're bombarded by all these bullshit stories in the media about prices, and you look at some of the big advertisers, and that's the strategy they run, is discounting, and that's okay. If that's the set play you want to run, then go for it. But the problem you've got is if price is your only value proposition, if that's your whole marketing strategy is to be the cheapest, all it takes for someone to knock you off your perch is to do it cheaper than you. And so it's a lose-lose. It's a losing downward spiral for everybody in an industry, is where we see people come in undercutting others. And I know, I talk to tradies who complain about these pelicans who are undercutting others on their rates, and it just makes it hard for everybody. So it doesn't mean you've got to play that game, though. And that's where people, I think, get a bit caught up, is we get sucked into thinking, oh, man, if old mate's going to do it cheaper, then I'm going to have to do it cheaper so I don't miss out on clients. But it's not necessarily the case. And in actual fact, I see the opposite with a lot of businesses, is they put their rates up and they get more clients and better clients. And that's the thing.
Yeah, and it's all about selling value and the actual outcome.
Yeah,
isn't it?
You can't just put your price up and do nothing else with your business. If you don't turn up on time and you're not phoning people back and you're not doing some of the 1%ers that we talk about, you can't just go and raise your rates and say, oh, well, Warwick said on this bloody podcast that if I put my price up, I'd get more customers. You've got to do some other things in your business. But again, they're not big things and they don't cost you any money. But it just sends a different message to people that, hey, if you're a premium provider of a premium service, then they expect to pay a rate that's in line with that. They don't want, flash discount rates for plumbing. If they want good quality plumbing, they'll look for a quality plumber. If they want cheap, they'll go and buy cheap anyway. So, you just got to work out which paddock you want to swing your bat on. Do you want to be playing with the cheap guys, or do you want to be providing a quality service?
Yeah, so true.
So that's probably a big one I've seen, is people who are willing to do that. Look, overall, I mean, I have to echo what Paul Bidwell said in the episode we did with him from Master Builders,
which is actually coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah, cool. So there you go, a sneak peek, listeners. And he's no relation, by the way. But
episode 19, watch out for it.
There you go. See, building anticipation. That's what we're doing. Come on, it's the 30th of December or something. I don't even know. What's my name again? I can't remember. But he talked about, what they are seeing, and, they've got, I think it's like nearly 9,000 members or something, that he said. But they were really talking up the industry over the next couple of years, and I'm certainly seeing that as well. There's lots of construction projects going on. I don't know. People seem to be not spending a ton of cash and waving their checkbooks around, but just seems like people are feeling a little bit more stable. There's a bit more activity in the renovation market, and that's flowing on across a lot of industries. So I think, 2015, all things being equal, looks like shaping up to be quite a positive one for all of the tradies out there.
And don't we all need it? So that will be good to look forward to.
Nice to have a few breaks here and there where life gets a little bit easier. So, Michaela, drag out that crystal ball of yours and put on the pointy hat. I don't know. Do fortune tellers wear pointy hats?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, anyway, if you were a fortune teller or a future teller, what's happening next year, Michaela? Come on, just save me here. I'm drowning.
Well, it's all about, for me, and I've seen a big change this year, and I think going into next, there's two big trends that I'm seeing. And the first one is this mindset shift around using technology in their business. And we do have an episode coming up in January where we talk a little bit more about technology and the benefits. But really, it's that mindset shift that people are accepting that there is an easier way to work now, and embracing technology with things like smartphones and iPads, that it is now very easy for you to implement into your business, and it can dramatically make some differences. So I know that we talked about, improving areas of your life and health and spending more time with your children and things like that. And things like changing the way you manage your jobs, or you'll get your invoices out, on spot, take mobile payments through things like My Old Pay Direct, that they definitely will help save you time and increase your better quality of life. So I really think that trend is certainly going to continue next year. And with that becomes, the ability to look at getting help in the business. So like you said before, you need to ask for more. And I think that's going to continue for other businesses where technology is allowing them to expand through virtual teams and things like that. And I really think that trend's going to continue as well. And with the whole trend of technology, it's the way it's also changed how they market their business. So no longer a half-page Yellow Pages ad is going to cut it anymore. And I think that it's taken a couple of years for trade businesses to really understand the impact of Google, SEO, online review sites, online directories, and all the other things that they can do to market their business online. So I really think next year is going to be a big year online for businesses and generating different lead sources online for their business and embracing newer social things like Instagram and benefits that Google can offer. So I really think what I've seen happen towards the end of this year really ramp up a bit next year is finding that new and innovative ways to market their business, because no longer is it as easy as placing an ad once a year. So I think that trend is definitely going to continue next year, and trade-based businesses are going to get really smarter about that and embrace some of the local area marketing online tactics that can be used out there.
And there's some younger players entering trade business. They've done apprenticeships or they've done some time with a business, and they're saying, you know what, stuff this. I want to do my own thing, which is often how most of us start out. But the thing is, they're tech savvy. They're using Instagram personally. They've been on Facebook for years. Matter of fact, they don't know a world without it. And g'day if you're listening. I'll give away my age here and say I remember my first building rep's job. There was no email or internet, so I literally had to go back to the office to submit all my reports to my sales manager. But look, there's some open-minded players and some younger people entering the trade space that have all this stuff sorted, and they're using it to market their business, like you say, Mikhail. So it's kind of a case of get across this stuff or get left behind.
That's right. And I'll tell you what, there's some cocky young blokes out there that are literally coming out of apprentice. They do, 1 or 2 years and go, oh, you know what, I can do this. And a lot of them I'm seeing are succeeding very quickly because they are embracing this kind of stuff. And, 12 months ago it was just them trying to get a bit of work, and now they've got 3 and 4 guys working for them. And you think, how did that happen, in 12 months? But it's just embracing those new ways to run your business. And, well, for them it's, the only way they know.
Exactly.
But for a lot of older guys, this is a big shift. And I think this is going to be the year that people really are left behind if they don't keep up with some of these more modern ways to market and run their businesses.
That's right. But you know what? There's an easy way for people to keep up with changes in the industry.
How's that, Warwick?
By tuning in to the Tradies Business Show. Come on. But seriously, as corny as that was, we're on a mission. We're on a mission from God. All the young guys just went, what the hell is that all about? But we're on a mission to bring as much useful information to tradie businesses, not just in Australia, but around the world in 2015. And so, simple way to stay abreast of some of this stuff is listen to the show, obviously. Hit the website, tradiesbusinessshow.com. We always put information up there, and you can find all the episodes and offers from our partners and everything. And I guess, we'll be hunting down some more guests who are really crushing it in this space.
Yeah, and certainly if there's anyone that you'd like to hear on the show or have a question you'd like to ask, you can do that through the website as well. And so we can get the word tradies used in every country across the world, and not these other boring terms like contractors.
G'day to all our North American listeners.
We'd love it if you'd leave a rating and review, and that helps us spread the word.
Awesome. So, look, I hope 2014 has been kind to you if you're listening to the show, and I hope 2015 is even bigger, better, and brighter than you imagined possible. Stay tuned. You'll see some cool stuff from us. And, Michaela, Happy New Year.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to ask you in our next episode, have you got or yet broken your New Year's resolution? So
I reckon there's a fair chance I'll break at least one of them in 24 hours.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and stay safe.
Bye for now.
You've been listening to the Tradies Business Show with Warwick Bidwell and Michaela Clark. Want to get off the tools and into true business ownership? Find out how at tradiesbusinessshow.com.